Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Starting Nine. Martino, Puccio, Mike Phillips alongside you guys. We are in full swing of the dog days of August. If you haven't already, like, subscribe to the channel, follow us on social media. Mike, we're going to get right into it. No messing around. George Lombard got called up. Something that we were kind of, I don't know, pedaling for, pushing for quite some time. We even mentioned it last year because of the path and Anthony Volpe was on, who we'll also discuss in a moment. George Lombard was called up. He immediately makes an impact, and Yankees fans think he is Derek Jeter 2.0, basically right off the rip. What are your first impressions of the young gun? Looks great with the glove.
Yeah, looks great with the glove. That's definitely progress considering Anthony Volpe had some issues there. It's something to keep in mind. I think that's one thing. The other thing to keep in mind here is, like he's giving you a little something with the bat, which is, I mean, it's nice to see considering, his track record has been get to a new level, struggle for a bit, and then figure it out. So, I mean, hopefully for the Yankees fans, that struggle doesn't come too soon because, they're not getting much offense in many other places right now. So, you kind of need him.
Yeah, and we see the power to right field, left field as well. His first home run was pretty great. The arm strength is fantastic. His range in terms of mobility is also really impressive as well. That didn't really surprise me. I think the power is the number one thing at the top of everyone's list so far, regardless of how he's working at bats and all those other aspects of his game. There's a confidence level that you're seeing that I necessarily never saw with Anthony Volpe. I don't know if you agree with that.
No, he definitely has not been scarred by New York like Anthony Volpe has to some degree, especially if the weight of the expectation of the Yankee fan. Or he sort of was the great hope post Derek Jeter, and it kind of helps Lombard. He's the guy after the guy, and that guy usually ends up doing a better job than the first guy is here. It's very rare that the line of succession is immediate. And I know technically, yes, Didi Gregorius was there for a minute before we got to Anthony Volpe, but the way the Yankees, held that job for him, okay. We're not signing, Corey Seager. We're not signing Marcus Semien. We're not signing any of these guys. We're not trading for Francisco Lindor. It's Anthony Volpe's job. You cannot convince us otherwise. I don't think that helped him at all.
No, and not to mention that they rushed him up, played him through an injury. It was just a really difficult run. Who, again, we'll still talk about Volpe next. But I think that the Yankees really needed a jolt of energy within this team. We know Bellinger is starting to do some work to come back. There's some positive Judge news. Again, that's something we'll discuss. I think that changes, the overall vibe of the pitching staff is incredible still. I know we try and stick to the topics week to week that we have, but truly their pitching staff is everything for them. And it's going to have them in conversations to win the World Series for the first time since 2009, and you're starting to see that. However, I would like to say that something we have seen this weekend is that the lineup is still not very good without Aaron Judge. And I know Bellinger is another big miss. I get it. I am not really here to poo-poo on that party. However, we're really sitting there where they're costing themselves games, and there's a team behind them that basically nearly has erased a 15.5 game deficit in the standings with the Boston Red Sox. Tampa's not slowing down anytime soon either. And you've mentioned this all the time. You don't want your rookies to save you. They can't have this savior complex that they come in because it's a lot more pressure on them. Because as you mentioned, it's been a pretty good job for Lombard to come up and just have Volpe have all this criticism. There's so many other players on the Yankees that will garner that sort of criticism. Because you even see Spencer Jones get some credit, and that triple that he legged out as well. There has been some positives in regards to that, but George Lombard, I guess the main thing that always pops up with rookies after they get off to a good start like he has, how do you handle the negative stretches? Can you bounce back from that? There's not going to be too much time within this season to get into the postseason. He's realistically going to have another 6 weeks or so to kind of go through those ebbs and flows. What are you kind of maybe skeptical on regarding him? I think it's one of those that we have to see him struggle and then see how he does afterwards.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things you kind of, where he is, he's got to let him get some reps. Don't be too harsh with his playing time where unless it's looking overwhelmed, you let the guy play through it because it will benefit him in the long run. Because I don't think what you can do here is overreact to the standings because I think where they are is kind of where they sit. I don't think they're catching Tampa in the AL East. I think they're going to be in a wild card series of the Red Sox, which depends who hosts. That could still be up for grabs for a little bit, but
Right.
I don't think you're going to be overreacting here. Nobody's gonna catch you from a miss of the 500 teams and knock you out of the playoffs. I think just ride it out, get him his reps, then you can assess. Okay, when we get to late September, we're getting ready for that wild card series. Do we trust him to make that call? You need as much information on it as you can before you make that decision.
Yeah, exactly. But there's nothing but positives coming from that. I think Spencer Jones has also shown some flashes. So the newer Yankees are transitioning fairly well as opposed to the other ones. Anthony Volpe and the Martian got sent down to AAA. These are two players that highly heralded as prospects, like many Yankees players can be at times. Volpe obviously having some good moments, and probably the last 18 months, definitely since the World Series, it's largely been negative. I would like to say, just with Volpe first, and then we'll go to the Martian. It's telling, Mike, that going back down to AAA, where Anthony Volpe is playing defensively, and what they think of him, he is playing shortstop. To me, and the people that come up with these questions immediately, like, oh, Volpe's over there, why is he over there? What does it tell you? That they don't view him as a future long-term second baseman. Because if they did, they would say, okay, Volpe, go down there, try and get your confidence back up. You're learning a new spot because this is George's. I think that it's pretty damning for him to go back down. And as the Martian, we all know at this point, in regards to him, he can't play defense. He looks so lost out there. Maybe he's going to be a capable bat. He always, professes he's better in specific spots in the outfield. Excuse me. I kind of just don't buy that. And this is the Yankees to blame. You can't really ever blame expectations. I think when you're the Yankees and you're a talented prospect, to a degree, I think they feed into that for hype. But at the same time, they're not doing either of these two players favors. Start with Anthony Volpe. What do you make of this situation? Is this kind of obviously his last year with the New York Yankees?
It kind of is. Like, I know they've said, I'm going to disagree a little bit on him still being a shortstop here. I think this is a thing where, like, we've seen this. I know the Mets doing it with Luis Robert a little bit. It's like, okay, we want to get your confidence up. We'll put you where you're comfortable first, and then when you start hitting, we'll move you somewhere else. So I think that could be what's in play here because,
good point.
Get him down and say, okay, like, don't worry about the field right now. Just hit. And then once you're comfortable hitting, we'll move you somewhere else and give you more versatility. I don't think he's completely done with the Yankees in their minds.
Okay.
I think we have to be realistic. I think, like, what's been done here to him, I think, has been very bad for his career. I think the point that I don't think he's going to make it in this market. I think he needs to go somewhere else and go somewhere else where there's less pressure, less expectations being the next Derek Jeter, and say, okay, just be Anthony Volpe, the shortstop, who we've seen he won a Gold Glove in the past. We know he has the ability to be good there. Like, maybe get him out of this pressure cooker and like just let him play his game. He's better.
The problem is, though, and I think those are all great points. Regarding Volpe, I think we just see already the range and confidence that a Lombard has. You can't move Lombard off shortstop. And that's where those problems start to arise for the Yankees, where you're moving guys around, you're putting them in positions that they're necessarily not best suited for, and you have so many of those guys, and eventually you ruin their confidence, as you mentioned. They then allow that to start entering their headspace when it comes to the at-bats, right? Like, don't let your errors defensively carry over to hitting and then vice versa. Because we see that a lot with young players. And, Anthony Volpe, I think you make a great point. He's already seemed to, he's not an awful player. This is the level of exaggeration that you see from some fans on saying he's awful. And listen, plate discipline wise, strikes out in key moments. But there's pop there, there's speed there. As you mentioned, I think he's a capable glove. I don't think he's as bad as he's shown, but it's so easy to succumb to the pressure when you're a New York Yankee, let alone a fan, let alone playing shortstop. So I think Volpe won't be the everyday starting shortstop again for the Yankees. Remains to be seen if he will be a Yankee. As for the Martian, Mike, your thoughts on this? I mean, there's just no way he fits into what they're trying to do. I'm still perplexed by this. I think if there's a guy that's definitely getting traded from this organization this winter, it's him.
Yeah, I think we're going to look at the point where Volpe and the Dominguez are the new Clint Frazier, Miguel Andujar, that we're going to talk about trading them because we held them too long. We didn't do the right thing with him. And this is another case where the Yankees just, overhyped this guy at the moon. Like, when he's 16 years old being signed from from wherever he comes from. I forget which country they signed
Cuba.
him from Cuba. Yeah, like you cannot be comparing 16-year-olds to Mickey Mantle. I'm sorry. That's not fair to the kid. Like that just puts an unrealistic burden of expectations on him.
You don't think Clint Frazier taking number 77 was a good idea?
That's not even like the big thing. I mean, like you had the whole thing about, like
Oh,
his
is that Mickey
hair,
Mantle?
like the Dominguez thing, like he has gotten a lot of run up here. He has not performed in his opportunity. He's still only 23 years old. It's a guy who, again, I think has the tools. I think if you put him somewhere else, he might be more successful. I just think the way of expectation they put on some of these guys is just ridiculous. It's something that this organization does not understand. We've had this going on. We've had Spencer Jones, who his credit is hitting a little bit and should be getting more run, being put up there like, oh, we're not going to trade unless it's for Paul Skeens. And then we have like this nonsense here. Like they need to stop turning and a lot of this is them gaslighting their fans and saying like, hey, like this guy's a superstar. We got to believe us. We believe him. And like, I think that follows a lot of the vitriol from the fans towards these guys is when they come up and are not, Derek Jeter or Mickey Mantle, they're like, what's going on here? I was told this guy's the next great thing. And he's, just a guy.
Yeah, which is a huge part of their PR issues that they have because on one hand, you understand for leverage in negotiations, you want to hype up your guys, right? Like you
Correct.
believe in them. You think Spencer Jones is so good, you would only package him for a phenom in Paul Skeens. Whereas the other turn is you're now selling that to your fans that you think that this guy is so good that there's only one player in Major League Baseball that you would do this for. And on top of it, we talk about this on a weekly basis, and Garrett Cole has pitched great since he's come back. At this point, I think he has a sub-3 ERA, striking guys out. He obviously a long-awaited return. We're talking about the core here with the New York Yankees. The goal is to win, right? And if you waste opportunities with certain prospects that hold a lot of value, right? Like you get the screenshots of, and I don't know if you saw them, but the Yankees top 10 a few years ago. I think we actually had this in a discussion where they were like, imagine we were able to trade all these guys for an actual star. Instead, we just brought them up, kind of ruined their confidence, saw flashes, and then they were just gone for pennies on the dollar. Obviously, the best examples are the Andujar and Clint Fraziers of the world. Kind of similar. At least Volpe made an impact at the major league level, as opposed to those other two guys that really had very few positive stints. It is a very delicate situation for Brian Cashman. I'm not really sure where they go from here. I think that you just saw Fernando Tatis today switch agencies to Rock Nation. I think there's more validity to those rumors potentially in the future. I'm not saying it's a Volpe and Dominguez thing. Don't get me wrong here.
Yeah, it's a lot more than that.
It's of course, but you could sort of see the angle and direction that they're going to have to be heading in with this because you have to package these guys. Them as individuals in other deals, it's just not going to work. Maybe you call back up Minnesota. I'm not really sure that they're going to be interested in pitching, but there is something there with shopping these guys eventually because right now these two are at the bottom of the barrel when it comes to confidence, and there's no guaranteed starting position at the major league level.
No. And it's crazy because like we've heard them linked so much to like Mason Miller out there too. We can just imagine them trying to do the new Robbie Cano trade where it's Tatis and Mason Miller for a bunch of prospects, including Jones, including Dominguez, Jones, Volpe, like a bunch of young guys out there. But I do think it's interesting that like the most impactful guys the Yankees had come up in the last few years are Ben Rice and Cam Schlittler, who are not given the overhyped treatment. So maybe I should tell you them something.
Hey man, I mean that happens with the Mets as well. It's not far fetched. We see a lot of the baby Mets not do great, and then all of a sudden these guys come out of nowhere and shine. And Christian Scott is one of those as well. Aaron Judge is possibly returning, doing light baseball activities. It's a positivity here, Mike. Listen, I'm not sold Aaron Judge is 100% or going to come back 100% this year. I just think that there's no way to properly get him up in time without rushing him in a way. I get it though. It's all on the line. It's the World Series. Aaron Judge is going to be, he's already in his mid-30s. The more that this plays out, and maybe he gets fully healthy over in the offseason, we don't know. But it's another injury in your mid-30s at your size and talks of, moving positions and stuff like that. And the Yankees are known for lying and not really telling the entirety of what happens with injuries or kind of relaying information in a a fair manner. And I'm not saying like, hey, you got to tell us, is he coming back or not? You don't want to show your hand.
There's gamesmanship, but they've been known to stretch the truth a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. And they're funny with the way they word things, right? Like, in 6 weeks he'll get images to see if he's able to start doing activities.
And to be clear, he flunked one set of images where he was finally allowed to start doing things. And the light activities, to be clear, people, he can run and he can do some upper body resistance activities. He can't throw yet. He can't hit yet. He said, and Aaron Judge has said that he needs to clear another scan before he's allowed to do that. So I'm assuming it's going to be, a week or two of this, the running, the exercises, and then we're going to check again and say, okay, are you clear yet to do these things? Yes or no?
Which then, if he gets cleared for that, I think the timeline's like a little unclear. Say best case scenario might be mid-September.
Yeah, so, and this is also going on the assumption that Aaron Judge does the Aaron Judge, says I don't like rehab games, just get me back in the lineup as soon as possible.
Which I respect. I think he's such a valiant leader and captain. Like Judge is incredible, right? Yep. I think the true mark of a valuable player isn't always just playing every day. It's what happens when you're not there. And the Yankees are completely amateur without him and lineup wise.
And we know this too, because he's also set there's a reason he tried to play through it for a month when he got hurt the first time. Because he looks around the room and goes, boy, if I'm not here, this shit could hit the fan very quick.
And what does he also say too? His comments about we're not really focused. That is so damning. And also it's not to say he's taking a shot at Aaron Boone. That is an indirect stray for Aaron Boone. Even though that was a little whatever. It's the same thing, indirect stray. What does that tell you? If you're a captain, and he never says stuff like that, by the way.
No, he doesn't say much. He usually toes the line.
I will say this. If the New York Yankees end up getting their 28th World Series, it's off the back of this incredible pitching staff. And I don't think that there's another angle or direction that they could take in order to have that sort of success. I would be worried. And not winning the division is huge. They could do great in the postseason because of that pitching. It will be in every game for them. But in a 3-game series, that means a lot less than a 5 or 7. So it is sketchy. It is scary. And the Boston Red Sox lineup, for example, say we got a rematch on that wild card, Mike. Dude, they almost won that, Boston. And that was a depleted lineup. They're going to be getting guys back. It can get scary. So we'll see what happens to your point about that. Any other final notes on the Yankees before I move on here?
Yeah, we'll say number one, the 3-game series. No Yankee fans are very confident about themselves in that with their pitching. Anybody can be anybody in a 3-game series, win 2 out of 3 in a series. We've seen this every year. It's a great setup for that to sort of, it's not the crapshoot of a 1 game, but it is a sort of a fair symbol of baseball season to kind of get things moving. And I will say with the lineup too, we're at a point, I think I want to give this message to Aaron Boone. You cannot be just playing platoon games. If Spencer Jones is hitting, Spencer Jones needs to play every single day. I don't care about the left-handed matchups. George Lombard saying George Lombard needs to play every day. We're not hitting enough to being cute with the platoon advantage. We need to get our best guys in the laps off as possible.
Agree, 100%. Great points. Moving on to more fun. Jefry Yan is electric. If you don't like this, you don't like fun, you suck. You're in this weird sphere of being this conservative, unwritten rule, bullshit, loser baseball fan that doesn't enjoy anything. Don't like Jefry Yan doing that, just like the Guardians didn't like it. Score runs.
Yep.
Then try and mock him. You don't get hits against the guy. You can't do anything. I always will back up players who do bat flips or trot around the bases as much as they want, walk across the mound, all these stupid unwritten rules. And Preston Wilson had a great segment on MLB Network years ago that I always like to try and pull up the video on Twitter about this. This guy is good for baseball. He's good for the Mets clubhouse. It's been quoted by Nolan McLean about that, getting that pure energy in there. And then we'll talk about the Mets overall energy in total. First of all, the journey for Jefry Yan is incredible in itself, right? We're talking about a guy who was highly lauded as a teenage prospect, had an injury, then is kind of out of baseball for a little.
He blew out his elbow. He was out for 5 years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
5 years is a very long time. We could talk about footnotes and stuff for people. That is insane. It's a half decade to come back, still be under the age of 30, throwing 101 miles an hour at the major league level, regardless if that's, a regular and consistent thing. It's the passion for baseball. It's why we love the World Baseball Classic. And seeing Jefry Yan jump up in the air and celebrate like he did after strikeouts, after the fantastic combo play with Luis Torrens for the tag at the plate, that's what we want in baseball. That gets young fans interested in this. Doing the opposite and shaming people for expressing their emotions is the exact opposite of what makes baseball great. I'm sorry, you're a sour douche if you don't like this. If it's not your cup of tea, one thing. If you're like, I wish this guy was still hidden so we could throw 90, 99 between the numbers on him. Like, stop. Shut up, get your hits off of him. If you can't, then too bad. Like, literally, I can never understand the argument against this kind of stuff. Don't like it, too bad. Prove it otherwise. That stuff is so petty. It's typical baseball nonsense at the major league level. But Jefry Yan is one of the best stories in baseball, and if you hate that, you hate puppies.
Yeah. Yeah, this is like the equivalent, like the baseball equivalent, like the of like the infamous Twitter poll I see once in a while. Like, what would you rather have, diarrhea forever or puppies or ice cream? Like it's the baseball equivalent of that poll. It's basically like Jefry Yan, like he's one of the great stories here, and like for a Met fan who's watched the team rip itself to the studs and it's 15 under 500 entering play today, like you're looking for reasons to turn on the baseball game, like on a Monday night in August when you could be, go to the beach, you could hang out at the pool. You go play some softball. You can do something more fun, like seeing. Oh, I might get Jefry Yan to come in, have some fun, strike out Matt Olson tonight, and do a celebration on the mound. I might get me to tune in for a few minutes and watch the game. And this is the late opportunity at bullpen right now. There's like nobody in it next year besides Devin Williams. Maybe Jefry Yan is a guy who comes in, is red hot down the stretch, and then he's in your bullpen next year. It could be fun to find out.
I mean, it's a lefty throwing 100, and he's also got good breaking pitches. It's just the control is a little off. I think his pitches do sit a little flat sometimes. I don't think there's as much movement on that fastball. 101 is 101, so it's still like difficult to like say, well, it's not that. There's levels to it, right? This is an awesome story. You're waiting over a decade to get to this moment, and there's plenty of them around Major League Baseball where we're seeing guys get their opportunities after grinding in the minor leagues for so long. For we know what is terrible pay, what we know is a grueling sort of job over years, and to kind of poo-poo on it is so pathetic. And I can't wait till that older guard and philosophy in baseball is gone. I'm not saying like everything should be the Savannah Bananas in Major League Baseball. What I'm saying is we should allow the artists to be artists. Trying to constrain them from expressing themselves is bullshit.
You heard it here first. Martino is anti the fun police.
Yeah, absolutely. I will fight these people. I don't care. Kodai Senga in the bullpen? Something the Mets have asked of him before in the past, vehemently against it. Sorry, I botched that. Listen, he should be lucky. He should be so lucky. And he kind of did have like a funny-ish comment. I didn't laugh too much when he was like, "Oh yeah, I still prefer to be a starter, but the Mets can just show me my statistics, and I would have no argument against it."
Yeah, that made me laugh as well. I'm like, Kodai gets it at least.
We appreciate a self-aware man.
Yeah.
However, he's not self-aware enough to retire. And I got to be honest with you, trying him in the bullpen is just another last-ditch effort. I'm not a big fan of this, and I express this immediately with you and our other good friend. When you go from the bullpen into a game, you have to have a specific mentality and line of focus in there. Kodai Senga, for me, is just one of those players who needs a lot to go well between the years in order to, like, he doesn't take adversity well when it comes down the mound. When he starts walking guys, then he starts to capitulate and he's throwing meatballs and teams are tagging him up. We know he's got an arm that he could throw hard. We know he has talented breaking pitches. We've seen stretches of Kodai Senga be a good pitcher in Major League Baseball. The confidence has been lost along the way. There's been injuries. There's been things that we don't really view or see as injuries. This move to the bullpen is a last-second ditch to salvage what is left of his Mets career. I don't anticipate this being a long-term fix. I think it could just slightly help his value in the hopes of potentially trading him this offseason. I don't see a world in which Kodai Senga as a New York Met next year.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think like the idea in theory makes sense because like don't worry about him going through 5 innings and having to maintain his command for 5 innings. And we've seen the theory the stars become relievers. Hey, you just air it out. We've seen Kodai hit 100 out of the bullpen in those innings, and that's the kind of guy with that. If you pair it the ghost fork and it's low hitting, that's a hard combo for hitters to deal with.
True.
And you have a 2-month stretch where, as fun as they're playing, like you and I have said this all the year, like they're probably going to be like a 75 win team. They're going to probably play about 500-ish the last 2 months of the year because they're more inspired and miss the playoffs. So that's fine. Like that's the way to let Kodai Senga try this. I see no harm in the experiment here. I just don't think you can bank on it for next year for sure. I think you need to, he has to be electric for 2 months to convince you, okay, here's our guy that we're going to put in the bullpen next year to help out.
Yeah, I agree with that. I also just like that's also like a big if, right? Like you need to be electric. You need to be this sort of player that we can rely upon. And, I think it's fairly obvious that this is just a player that I think New York is getting to him. I think the overall expectations, because, heading into the season, something that we talked about in our previews is, can Kodai Senga show up? Can he bounce back? Can David Peterson bounce back? Can Sean Manaea bounce back? Manaea has. Took very long for that to happen, but credit to him, I guess. Yeah, I don't know with the Senga thing. I think it's at least a decent idea. And as you mentioned, high velocity, ghost fork. Let's see if that can gain him some confidence. And, he's just got to go in for 1 inning. And can he do that? It's just there's walks there. There's hard contact given up on a consistent basis. We'll see over the course of the next 2 months. Final thoughts on Senga there, or ready to move on?
I think we're good to move on. It's just a matter of, they don't have anything that bullpen besides Dan Williams, so why not?
Right. Something they might have on the horizon is a second baseman. This time next year, Mike. Mitch Voit has been on a tear. Back-to-back Eastern League Player of the Week after getting promoted from High A Brooklyn into Double A Binghamton, and Binghamton is incredible right now, right? This isn't just about Mitch Voit. We will hyper focus on him because he's last year's first round pick. Obviously, we know his celebration of getting to third base and how he would have fit in perfectly with the 1980s Mets. This is a player, Mike, who is starting to come into his own, and he wasn't always a full-time positional player in college at Michigan. Has transitioned to that, and the Mets have had a lot of success in this David Stearns era of converting players into specific positions, and the New York Mets historically kind of have done that. I'm just really citing Jacob deGrom for a reason. I will tell you this. Obviously, it's not a purple patch. A purple patch would signify that he is not as talented. It's just a hot streak. It's an unsustainable hot streak at that level. However, 11-game sample size with the numbers that he has, glove, we're seeing speed, we're seeing power, we're just seeing other contact. This is like, I'm not saying a 5-tool player because I don't think the power is exactly at that level, Mike. I could be wrong, but Mitch Voit is electric, and he's on this A.J. Hewen, Carson Bench path of dominating Double A, barely time, and Triple A, and then you're right there in Queens.
Yeah. He's definitely on that track here, and like the speed kills. And he stole 42 bases last year in the minors. He's already got like 36 this year across 2 levels. Like, I don't even say yes. Like a week on AAA is hard. Double A is hard to judge by in terms of like these stats here. But like this is like 2 weeks, but like this guy hit 305 in the hitters held at his Coney Island in June. Like this is a guy who figured it out down there. I'm like, you want to see what he can do. Like, and obviously, they're going to probably try and run Marcus Semien out next year, start next year, see what he can do. And then I think they're going to confidently do that. Say, hey, like, if this kid's ready, Marcus Semien ain't stopping him coming up. I think that's the way they're going to look at it. And whether it's, platoon with Brett Beatty or something like that, I think they're not going to go a second base option this season. Hey, this kid is right there. And for those of you hoping he gets here, I would not do that because obviously he needs more than like 2 weeks in Double A. I'd like to see him get to Triple A. Important thing to know with the people who are not on the 40-man roster, and he's not there yet as well, is that like, if there is a lockout next year, which is you would agree, that's a pretty strong possibility, correct?
Yeah, they're not playing 162 is what you and I believe for people who don't know.
Yeah. So fun fact here that anybody who's on the 40-man roster even if they're minor leaguers, cannot show up to work. They have to wait till this thing is over. The kids who are not on the 40s can still go play their minor league seasons and develop. So, like, theoretically, there's a world where, like, let's say the season starts Memorial Day next year. Mitch Voigt's been in Double A playing or Triple A playing for 2 months by the time that rolls around. So, like, he might be up quicker than you think.
That's a hell of a point. But isn't that really good for old man Marcus Semien for getting more rest, I guess?
Good.
I do have a question, though, on Semien, because I think since his return from the hip flexor, Semion's been a very good player, or far more useful than he was prior to that. Do you kind of buy in to, and we'll go back to the prospect talk in a moment, do you buy into Semion's injury being a bigger issue for, obviously he's still not the same player. I don't think he'll ever be worth what the money is these next 2 years and change. But do you buy in that most of the issues coming from Semien, where the Mets expected at least a Gold Glove caliber second baseman, stems from that injury? I think there might be more to that.
Yeah, I think the Marcus Semien thing is very interesting because, like, obviously we learn later on he's playing through a hip injury for weeks. I was trying to tough through it. He couldn't move and he couldn't swing. And then he sits out. He's back. I'm trying to look up the splits real quick for first half, second half for Marcus this year because, like, he came back right after the All-Star break and he's got 5 homers since the break. So just to clarify, your second half of the year, he's hitting, well, the average of the saying so far, 212 compared to 214. The OPS is up significantly, though. He's 738 in the second half compared to like 6 something in the first, which is a more usable player than what we've seen from Marcus Semien at this point. I think maybe there is a way. I think they were using him too much. I still don't think he should be playing every day. I think he should be. Right. I think the platoon with Brett Baty is the best way to salvage him. Where, you know, he's playing against like every lefty and occasional righty. I think that as he gets old, I think they're expecting Marcus Semien to roll in here and just be an everyday 150 game player at his age and in the middle infield was silly.
Yeah, absolutely. Turning 36 in a month. Listen, just his month of August, he's had 28 plate appearances or at bats as opposed to July where he had 38, right? 184 average, and these are the July splits. 184, 225, and a 421 slug. Just 3 homers, 6 ribbies, 14 Ks in that time frame. August, the shift for 28 at bats, right? We have 1 more run, same amount of hits, 1 less home run, 6 RBIs, 5 walks to 4 strikeouts. So he's striking out significantly less within this stretch. And a 28 at bat sample size isn't like the greatest, but it's also not the worst. But that's a markedly obvious improvement. I'm just saying, I don't think he's as bad as what we saw during those low stretches, and he's not as good as the level that we're seeing now. I think if he's this guy who could hit around like 240 maybe, and you were talking around a 320 OBP or a 330 OBP with a plus glove, I think the Mets would have been fine with that heading into an age 36 season next year. They just didn't even get remotely close to the level that they were asking for, at least on the defensive side of things. I think the consensus was for everybody that there was not going to be a juggernaut sort of hitter that we saw in his prime. We thought whatever you take with the bat is a plus, and we just need an elite glove to match up with Francisco Lindor. He was not elite whatsoever defensively, and then Lindor missed a ton of time and has been a bit down defensively as well. Where do you think the movement is? I think this time next year you could see a potential buyout or sell off with Semien.
I think we're heading down the Cano path with him where we just buy him out like a year and a half to go. I think that's the way they end up doing this year. I think like once Voigt's ready, the job is his. And then like, unless you value Marcus Semien enough to be like a clubhouse leader type who plays like once or twice a week, I think at that point you're saying, okay, Marcus, thank you for your service. Time to move on.
Yeah. Agree 100%. Also, just like real quick with the Mets minor league system, because we still got some time here. There is improvement across the board. If for people who have not really been tuning in to the Mets, and I think a lot of fans point are looking at the minor league level. They're happy with what they've seen from the young guns at the major league level.
Yep.
The level of improvement across the board in the minor leagues is something to note, in my opinion. You're seeing guys like Elian Pena go on hot stretches. Basically, everyone that they got from Tampa is tearing it up. Jefferson Rojas slowly turning it around as well.
The first hit since he got here.
Yeah, so go ahead. You could talk about some of the other guys that have kind of caught everybody's eyes here.
Yeah, obviously a lot of the guys they brought in these trades you're seeing on social media, like clips like, oh, like Sammy Safura did this. Petrie's got another 3-hit night. Like Billy Amick hasn't stopped homering since he got here. Like Like he's one of the guys that got in the Minter trade. Like it's like Jefferson Rojas is doing things. Like they're like that's fun. And not even that, like besides the guys who they brought in, like you're seeing some of these guys on the lower levels like have like turned their season around. Like the kid like Randy Guzman who just got promoted to Brooklyn, like mashes home runs at first base. And I don't know if you're aware of this guy. Like last year, like he obviously has a hit tool issue, which is why he's not like a higher rated prospect, but like he had a higher average exit velo in that level than Connor Griffin did. And Connor Griffin's already in the big league. So that tells you some of the power potential he has. You have guys like Trey Snyder who are down there, got promoted. Like some of these lower level guys, Wandy Asigan, another guy who's been on a heater. Like they have a lot of guys like in that A range who are starting to like get themselves together.
And you're also seeing, Will Watson return. Watson was one of the top pitching prospects in their system. Jonathan Santucci also evolving, getting to be a better pitcher. Wandy Asigne, by the way. Yeah. Probably said the last name wrong. Apologies. Yeah. Just a quick note, and I sent this morning in the chat. I know you saw this. I just want to put it out there for some fans. Mets shortstop Wandy Asigne has now appeared in the top 10 with 3 home runs, 6 stolen bases, and a 149 WRC plus in 83 appearances as a 16-year-old who won't celebrate his birthday for a few more days. Although his contact rate is only 61%, he has hit balls 107 and 114 miles an hour, with the highest exit velo of anyone in his age 16 season. He will just need to improve his bat-to-ball skills. But, Mike, 114 exit velo at the age of 16.
That's terrifying.
And who is also, you sent in the chat, Baseball America's top 10 for the Mets prospects.
He was number 5 on their list.
He jumped Elian Pena, who's been in the States and playing great. And Pena's been awesome. I think even DSL last year, up at this point where he had a rough patch, but now, like I just mentioned, 11-game hit streak. Wandy jumped him, and Wandy was huge, right? Because this is a guy that they stole from the New York Yankees just last year. This is part of like what, for me, I'm not overreacting when it comes to the New York Mets long term because of stuff like this.
Yeah, and another note, Baseball America put out their hot sheet of like the top the 10 hottest prospects in the league right now. They had Aiden Smith, one of the guys they got in the trade for Freddie Peralta. He's at number 6 on that list.
We'll see how interesting it is where the Mets farm. So I think they're going to jump back in the top 15 when it comes back to these offseason evaluations on these prospects. I just think that there's just a lot of talent right there, and people need to be a bit more patient on that side of things. And I'm not asking for patience with David Stearns. I'm not asking for patience with the New York Mets major league level. What I'm saying is the overall organization deserves a little bit more time because we're seeing the fruits of the labor be products at the major league level. I mean, like what Benjamin Ewing alone, forget about McLean and the development and changing of a Christian Scott, has done for the New York Mets is it's changed the whole perception. Juan Soto has commented on it as well, saying Benj and Ewing were like, I think he said it at the All-Star game, that's part of why he signed with the Mets, because he likes what they're doing here. I'm just excited. I've never been this excited about the Mets minor league system probably in over a decade, when they had the Wheelers, the Syndergaards of the world, where you knew their pitching was incredible and they had a lot of potential high impact arms coming out of there. So positive news in Mets land in regards to the minor leagues, because we know the major league level, they're going to play spoilers for the most part. Now moving on to the rest of Major League Baseball, Mike. The AL continues to be mediocre as hell. I mean, the Mets just completely dominated the Guardians. That says everything that you need to know in regards to that. The Yankees have been terrible at moments and times. We've seen the Boston Red Sox, and we'll talk about them too, have an incredible comeback. I mean, listen, the AL being mediocre is great for parity. It's not great in general, but what are your kind of takeaways from the AL this year? This is like it's bad. The Athletics as well, one of the most disappointing teams in Major League Baseball. What do you make of the AL? Like, I think there's a couple of good teams. I don't think there's a great team right now, and like in terms of complete ball club.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you mentioned the Mets against the Guardians. Mets are 10-2 against that division this year. They haven't played the White Sox yet, to be fair, but that division is terrible. Yeah. Yeah, they swept the Tigers, swept the Guardians, went 2 of 3 against the Royals and the Twins. I mean, right now, if you look at the standings today.
Oh, you're asking if
you look.
Yeah. I've only been checking the wild card because I've seen the Tigers are still somehow in contention with
The
this so
Detroit
far.
Tigers, who traded away Tarek Skubal and Casey Mize, two of their top 3 pitchers, are 1 game out of the playoffs at 2 under 500. The Texas Rangers, who tried to trade Jacob deGrom to Atlanta, are at 500 to have the 3rd wild card spot. Yankee fans, you have no worry whatsoever missing the playoffs in this slow speed bumper car chase. And like, when you look at some of these teams in these divisions, I mean, the AL West, every team in the AL West is a negative run differential. And the Houston Astros are leading in a game over 500. The Mariners, we thought were going to, run it back, are 7 under. The Tigers are 2 under. They passed the Twins and the Guardians for 2nd in the division over there. I feel like you got 3 teams who are good in the East. The White Sox, I think, are okay. The West is a crapshoot. And whoever that 3rd wild card is, they just get steamrolled.
The Baltimore Orioles are 2 games out of wild card 3.
And they sold.
They're so bad. And
They
Gunnar might be gone this offseason.
They traded the starting catcher of the Red Sox. They're 2 out of a playoff spot.
And they also traded Taylor Ward, who was a prized offseason acquisition, I believe.
Yeah.
Correct?
I mean, unless you are Kansas City, the A's, or the Angels, you are in the AL playoff race.
Good or bad for baseball, Mike Phillips?
This is bad. This is not like, these teams are trying hard and getting it. This is just a bunch of crap. And you're trying to see which piece of crap floats to the top first.
We call that failing upwards.
Yes, we do. Yeah, like
That's
literally,
not special.
You have 4 good teams in that league, I think. And there's the 3 teams in the East and the White Sox.
The AL Central is the biggest joke of a division that I've ever seen.
Sir, the AL West, every team has a negative run differential.
I'm going off of what I've seen. At least the Astros and Mariners have been really good the past few years, especially obviously what the Astros have done.
The Mariners are 7 under.
They're terrible this year. I'm not arguing about this year. I'm talking about in general.
Yeah.
The past few years. What the AL Central is a fucking joke every single time. I know the Royals are a big disgrace, one of the biggest stinks, but like I'm sorry to sit here. Like the Tigers heading into the year and what they had and what they should have ran away with this division. The fact that they're not even doing that, regardless of Skubal injury in that situation, they're pathetic. Like it is so pathetic. These guys don't even try to compete. How many of these teams, if you'd like make a list, like a short list of all the Major League Baseball clubs that you think try the least, how many of them reside in the AL Central?
It's a good question. I'd say probably at least 3.
I would say every team in that division and add in the Athletics, and those are the biggest losers in the American League, for sure. That division is that's why I was like sitting there watching the Guardians when we were playing them in that series.
You can't leave the Angels off that list either.
Yes, I mean they're ran terribly. At least like the Rendon contract. You have to offer the worst contract in baseball to at least be in the conversation. They've spent money. They're just idiots. I hate Art Moreno. I think he's a big cancer on the sport. No denying that. Those guys are a joke. Like the Guardians, like congratulations, you win the garbage division all the time, or you're competing in that. I don't think it's actually reflective of how good they are. The Tampa Bay Rays are far more impressive in what they're doing over there than what you're seeing with the Guardians, because I think the Guardians get tossed in these conversations. Best run Oregon, all this, all that. Really? Are we sure about that? Or are they just benefiting from a trash division? Because I think it's more about that than it is them being smart. They do a good job of getting value and developing players from time to time. There's no denying that. However, it is so easily the most overrated franchise in the sport, my opinion.
The Rays in that division, which is the top division in that league, are 25 over 500.
How many teams did we say, like, in that entire division has a chance to make noise in the playoffs, let alone, like, obviously, like, compete for a World Series? Like, the worst team there is Toronto.
Yeah.
It's just, I think that says a lot about what Tampa's been able to do against these juggernauts and not really have spending power. The AL, like, and also, like, I think that as well is calculated into Baltimore's moves, where you're saying, like, okay, Adley Rutschman, super talented. We love him. He's not going to sign an extension here. He's got injury history. He's got years left of control. Let's trade him off because we have huge needs in our areas and still have a talented core. The AL sucks so bad. we could retry next year in the short term. Because I don't actually see anywhere in the American League where you're like long term, these are really good teams. I have questions about almost every single one of these franchises that are on the outside looking in.
Yep.
All right. Done with that ramble. The Boston Red Sox, your World Series pick, has turned it around just like you expected. This is one of the greatest in-season turnarounds that I've ever seen. I can't recall another one. So, I mean, what was it? The Tigers probably a couple years ago in 2024 when they made that run after selling at the deadline. But Boston, where they were, the moves they've made, the manager they fired. This is remarkable. Just simply remarkable. And I'll let you touch on who they have returning too.
Yeah. I believe it's 32-5 in their last 37 games, which is obscene for any professional sports team. You don't see college basketball teams put up those kind of numbers. Like this is how ridiculous they've been. And think about it, they're doing it without Roman Anthony. They're doing it without Garrett Crochet. They're doing it without Rucci, who's still not back yet because he's got the wrist injury he's trying to get over.
Rehabbing right now. Yep.
He's rehabbing. Yeah, there's a couple of big guys that are not in that group that you add them to this team. Like you're like, wow, like they could be really like. They like that Red Sox World Series pick might be back on here because like the AL's so bad.
Need, by the way, as well, I think, right? Because of his injury.
Yeah, they have a lot of talent on that team. They have a good mix of guys in there. They fortunately Curtis Mead was unfortunate because like he was hitting very well this year. He breaks his wrist. Like you hope we get him back in time for the playoffs. But like with the AL as bad as they is, like why would you not back the Red Sox right now? Like they are playing the best baseball of any team in here. I think you're one Warriors you peaked too soon.
You're adding a Cy Young candidate last year in Crochet. I mean, Roman Anthony, there's some weird stuff going on with him. I still believe in the talent. That was one of my top 5 MVP picks. I've had a rough year. Just there is a certain moment, where like teams get really hot, right? Like say like a 10-game win streak and then they kind of like fizzle out. 32-5 is such a big sample size. I know that's largely unsustainable. That's not repeatable. It's insane for anybody to do. But at that point, you're that good. You are a really good team if you're able to pull that off. Wilson Contreras, one of the best trades of the offseason. We'll see when Mean comes back. Rutschman is such a huge boost. The lineup is really something that could do a 180 with these returns. I think that gets the biggest boost. The staff, we know them. We know that's a talented enough staff. Nobody saw this coming. With the Breslow situation,
they fired the
firing of Alex Cora.
Yep.
Who's still like consensus, like one of the best managers in baseball. I still think he'll get a top job. This just doesn't happen. This is just like the sort of like magic that the Red Sox have after 2004, right? Like 2013 was one of the greatest season over season turnarounds in Major League history. 2018, one of the most dominant. Like the Red Sox are still producing plenty of talent. That's what afforded them to, make some of these trades at the deadline like they did. Like how legit you're saying that they could coattail this to get to the World Series and win it. I think Major League Baseball is wide open. We see the LA Dodgers really struggling as of late too. If you were to say if Boston hosts a 3-game series against the Yankees, who are you taking in that?
I would take them. I think they're playing much better baseball right now than the Yankees are. And the Yankees don't hit, and the Red Sox have the pitching to keep up with them.
They do. Would you say besides Seattle, these are the other top 2 staffs in the AL? I think so, right? Maybe
I would
Tampa.
Yeah, I would think so. Tampa, if they can fix Freddie Peralta, is a big if there. But like he could add a lot with Rasmussen and McClanahan, and like they have a lot of talent on that staff. And I'll give you an interesting number here, MLB.com on this Red Sox thing. They went 27-3 over a 30-game stretch. They're the first team in MLB history to win 27 games, a 30-game span, while entering that span 10 or below 500.
So statistically, one of the greatest turnarounds that anyone has ever seen.
Yeah, only 2 other teams had a sub 500 record prior to a run like that. The 1916 New York Giants and the 1887 St. Louis Browns.
Wow. World War I didn't even end yet. So post World War I, that's never happened.
No.
And here we are, year 40 of the New York Mets.
being under 500, like in doing that.
I know, yeah.
It's
That's
never been seen.
We dream about that as Mets fans, huh?
Yeah.
Speaking of dreams, Jacob deGrom veto a trade to the Braves. How much of this is about Jacob deGrom loving the Mets as opposed to just wanting to ride into the sunset with no pressure with the Texas Rangers?
This is a man who wants to be in Texas, and he negotiated no trade, which I give him full credit for exercising here. I mean, like, you have, a great situation. He's won a ring down there. He's got nice weather year round. He does not have to pay the state income taxes, on his huge salary. Like, he's picked where he wants to be with his family. I don't blame Jacob deGrom for doing this. And it's a little side effect for the Met fans that he boosted the legacy. He said no to Atlanta of all teams, because that was the fear, I think, back in the free agency days. He was going to go with the Braves. And he chose Texas. He won a World Series. Texas. He didn't really do much to contribute to because he was hurt that year. But like, this is a interesting storyline here, because it just goes to show you that like Atlanta was sniffing around pitching. They apparently had asked about Logan Webb too, and the Giants said no. So they tried to go big game hunting. They couldn't land a pitcher that they like to upgrade their staff.
I didn't know about the Logan Webb side of things. That's pretty crazy. That's a guy that they probably should consider. Watch them go for like Robbie Ray or something this offseason and get him. Listen, I'm not here to romanticize a guy that bolted out the door the second he got the opportunity.
It's entirely he wanted to stay in Texas, which is his right. His Paris contract.
And kudos to him, like you mentioned. He got a ring.
He has one.
It's
you can hang out with
worse.
You can hang out with Brandon. You can hang out with Brandon Nimmo for a few years.
Yeah, chill out with Nimmo. No pressure. The rest of your team is getting dumped at. Like, they won the World Series. It was a success after what they did in the offseason that they had. Jake is just that sort of personality, man. And I think that, it's unfortunate. I don't think he'll make the Hall of Fame at this rate. Healthy, has not been pitching well enough this year. Like I think his ERA is close to 4, right? I don't have the numbers in front of me.
Last is always 3.95. I don't know if it's gone up since then.
Yeah. So, obviously one of his worst years, but we also forget how old deGrom is too. Or, well, you don't, but just in general, people do. Like, this is a 38-year-old pitcher at this point in time, obviously because he came up so late. Last year was a better year. Like, listen, cool that you didn't go to Atlanta, I guess. I'm just not here to be like hip hip hooray, Jacob deGrom, the greatest Met, blah blah blah. Dude didn't like us. He didn't like New York. I think he liked the Mets and Mets fans. I don't think he liked New York. It was evident, like you were saying.
I think you could tell the shift in him, like once the ownership changed to Cohen. I don't think he was feeling the Cohen vibes.
I think it's not just that. I think there's something to it. I just think he got so after the 2022 collapse. I think he was just so done with it. Like also new ownership in. He spent a couple years there. They had an unbelievable regular season, their best of the 21st century, and then they just capitulate in Atlanta. They shit down their pants against San Diego. He was not interested in sticking around for that at his age, where it seemed like I think the Mets and the direction that they were headed into, Mike, they weren't sold on paying him what he wanted. I don't think they
had injury concerns, remember, because don't forget, like he has the great first half in 21. He misses the rest of that year. Then he misses 4 months in 22 with the lingering arm things. Comes back, is great. And then, he comes out and, like, remember, this is also a couple years after he signed, like, we're trying to be a sweetheart deal with the Mets for an extension when that Brody, who was his agent, took over the GM and got him signed. Probably at that point felt like, hey, like, I left millions on the table and we didn't do anything with it. Like, pay my worth or I'm out. And the Mets didn't want to give him what Texas gave him.
And he knew what his elbow was, a ticking time bomb. And there was also like a lot of, if I recall correctly, incentives in his Texas contract that he gets paid out if he pitches enough innings and does well enough. For me, like ultimately what I'm looking at here is just I'm hoping he can make a run at the Hall of Fame one day. Last year was a great year for him. All-Star, top 10 in Cy Young voting, 3 WAR, 1.8 WAR this year. It's not like the worst of years. I think if we contextualize that this is a 38-year-old pitcher, we can come away with, okay, this is still productive as a player.
I think the guy you're looking at with him is I think you're watching the Felix Hernandez Hall of Fame case. I feel like if Felix gets in, I think there's a great chance that deGrom does at some point, just for being so dominant for what the period of time he was.
I think it's just 2021. Real quick. 15 games started, I think. The WAR was 4.5. We've seen a lot of good pitching season from Mets players and all that kind of stuff. That was the best Met in a vacuum that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
That was incredible.
The thing that's going to hurt him, though, is like between 2021 and 2024, he makes 15, 11, 6, and 3 starts. That's all and you throw in the COVID year, 2 with 12.
Yeah.
That's not a lot of starts over 5 years.
No. And that's really just kind of the issue with it. I think all time he'll get there with strikeouts. It's like an accomplishment as well. He's 5 away from 2,000 in his career. This is still one of the all-time greats. Do you see a potential transition to the bullpen, maybe? I don't think they do with his contract, right?
Also, no, I'm looking at his baseball reference page. 5.32 strikeout to walk ratio for his career, which is the best of all time on qualified pitchers.
That's what I was looking at because I saw it highlighted in gold because I still have it up on my screen. One of the all-time greats. We'll see where deGrom ends up. I guess good job by.
He's another one that he really cannot afford the lockout to go on too long, because he needs to pitch if he wants that Hall of Fame legacy.
How many years does he have left on this contract? Let me go and check real quick.
Should be through 28, because I believe it was a 5-year deal, but they automatically got the option for another year.
Yes, 28. It's a mutual option of $37 million. So he's got 2 more years with them. I think the velo's still there, though. That's the thing. I think he can elongate this career if he wants to try and go to the bullpen.
I think
number 48 will be retired in Queens one day. It's got to be, right?
I mean, they haven't given it out since he left, so I think they're at least entertaining the possibility. Unlike other players this year who we saw number 9 guy handed out within 2 months of Brandon Nimmo leaving. And they made a great choice, number 9.
I will say this about Nimmo real quick. If you're still a Mets fan bitching about losing Brandon Nimmo, you are a certified moron. And I'm not saying that lightly. Like, you are a certified idiot. Like, whatever. Leave it there. We appreciate everybody.
I think you have more to say.
You'll see it on a text message later, maybe. But again, everyone can go and follow you at mphillips331. Anything exciting on the docket? The Jets are back.
Yeah, speaking of the Jets, we do have a Jet conversation on the podcast because joined by the host of the Locked On Jets podcast, John Butchko. We previewed Jets camp, talked about the whole storylines over there, and our mutual friend Joe Dalviza stopped by. So we talked about the premiere of Hard Knocks this year. Did you watch the first episode of the Seahawks season?
I saw clips of it where Mike McDonald was sitting in with one player and he was talking about a Rex Ryan comment that he received years ago. But no, I haven't watched the Hard Knock. You know me, football the Jets have killed my will with football outside of fantasy.
Yeah. Have you seen any clips of Derek Hall's truck? I
have not.
You need to look up that truck because they feature on Hard Knocks. Might be one of the most ridiculous trucks I've ever seen. You think Mitchell Robinsons are crazy? Derek Hall's makes it look like a Hot Wheels car.
On a scale of 1 to Exhibit, where are we at with that for Pimp My Ride?
He's right under Exhibit.
Okay. I'll be sure to check that out. More stuff, by the way. You watched Spider-Man?
Yeah, I watched Spider-Man. Loved it. Definitely a fun movie. Definitely recommend checking it out. Also, I'll say on the Sky Guys front, we're still going to the next Star Wars project bracket. You can vote in our Instagram stories and the Twitter polls to make your voice heard. We'll see what the people have to say at the end of the season here. A lot of Mets content on Mets on SI. That's coming up here. Fan sides and stuff as well. Check all that out.
Yep. So I'm Phillips331. Highly suggest everyone go like, subscribe, and tune in. Give him 5 stars on all of his podcasts. At Martino Puccio for me. Again, if you have not already subscribed to this channel, please do so. Get us to 500 subscribers would be a huge accomplishment for myself. And again, if you guys like soccer content or just in general, we have all our baseball clips at Martino Puccio on Twitter, at Martino Puccio, everywhere else. It's been a lot of fun this first season. Has not gone well the way that you and I wanted to do it, but people have to respect us for showing up week to week as Mets fans like we have the past 20 plus years. I know you're a little bit longer in season as a Mets fan. Serie A is coming back within less than 2 weeks now. We are pathetic. We are ran terribly. And if you're interested in hearing some of the commentary and notes, you go to over at That Milan podcast. Closing in on 8,000 subscribers, so would highly appreciate that. We'll see what happens in the coming weeks. NFL season right around the corner. Over or under the amount of weeks Aaron Glenn survives. We'll set it at 6.5, Mike.
I will go. Oh, when's their bye? That's the important question of that.
Okay. Jets by week 2026 is computing week 13.
I will go with the over then. I think it will get to the point where like if it is bad, they'll fire in the bye week and then Frank Reich just finishes the season.
Yeah, I think the consensus is among Jets fans that Frank Reich will be finishing up this year. We'll see what ends up happening. See if the Indianapolis Colts give us a great pick. Thank you, Sauce Gardner. But yeah,
or Dallas or the Packers. They have three other options.
I hate this franchise so much. I don't think they're ever gonna get it right. I don't.
Oh, the Knicks got it right, so there is hope someday.
No. I think we land on Mars before we see the Jets win the Super Bowl. And I'm talking about a human being, not robots like we've had. But other than that, we thank you guys so much. Tune in next week for the starting 9 for Martino, Puccio, and Mike Phillips. We'll see you later.